Hey guys, my name is April. I go by Ruby Rouge here on the YouTubes, and I want to jump right into this palette review. I have a little backstory though that I feel like I need to share. I have a pretty solid palette collection to the point where if I buy anything new, it just means something that I love is not going to get used as much anymore. Last year I let myself buy one palette. This year I'm going to let myself, or I've let myself buy one palette again. So I'm trying to be on like a no buy, a low buy for things that I just have duplicates of. It's one of my last videos and I was trying to talk myself out of buying this palette. You can watch that video and see all of the reasons that I said beforehand that I maybe didn't need this palette. And it's funny to me because some of those reasons I'm like, yep, I was right. However, I bought the palette. I own it now. So the question is, do I regret making this my one purchase of 2019? Who's this palette going to work for? What kind of surprised me about this palette? Is it unique to my collection? Is it better than what I already have and love? Also, I'm going to compare some looks to some other brands that I have already and that I love. And yeah, so let's get started. I know you guys have already seen the packaging and the swatches. It's absolutely stunning. I have zero complaints about any of that. I wanted to try my first look with this palette on camera, but since I had never done that before, it got a little long and it was boring and, it was okay. I learned a lot how to do it better next time, but it wasn't really that interesting. There was nothing super groundbreaking that happened. I did have a little bit of trouble blending what eyeshadows. I was trying to deepen up Story. I had put Story all over the eye. I'll pop up the eye look I'm referencing here. And then I decided to deepen it up with Ritual. And I did have a little bit of trouble doing that. I had some skipping and a problem that I will come back to. And then the second look is Poet Metallic with Poet Matte, deepening the outer V, and Poet Sequin and Aura Sequin on the lid. Okay guys, let's talk about my opinions on this palette. A lot of people are raving about the color story, and honestly I'm a little torn. Out of 24 shadows in the palette, 18 of them are going to work to their fullest potential as like packing shades. So something I can pack on the lid, glitter, the metallic shades. I was able to successfully use Ritual Metallic in the crease, and I did like a finger painting look with memory. I had to just use my finger because I assumed it wouldn't work well with the brush. I was able to get it into the crease. It did look kind of cool. It had like this grungy gray look. I enjoyed it. I would probably wear this look out. I upgraded the look then with Memory Glitter as a topper. Sorry the pic's blurry, but I think you get the point. I wanted to mention this partly because I'm going to reference this a couple of times, this being one of my main problems with the palette. I think the textures are really cool, but I definitely think it makes the palette less versatile than it could have been. Alright, let's talk shop about the formulation of these shadows. The glitters were a wow for me. I cannot normally use glitters because of the fallout and the eye irritation that occurs. I did a 6-hour wear test with these glitters and I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any irritation. I didn't have any fallout. One of the ways I can always tell if it's getting in my eye is I usually have fallout on my contacts when I wear glitters, or when I try glitters because I don't wear them. And I didn't have that with these. So I'm super impressed by the glitters. They didn't budge. Definitely, like everyone has said, they need to be your very last step. Once they're on the eye, you don't want to touch them. You don't want to be anywhere near them. Don't be picking at your eye. I did successfully put on eyeliner, like a gel eyeliner once, but even that was a little tricky. So I would recommend, if you can, just do that your very last step. The metallics were a little less bold and creamy than I originally thought that they would be, definitely based on the swatches. They did foil great with a little Fix Plus. They look great on the eye. And I think that the resulting finish is on par with any of my favorite brands of shimmer, metallic looking eye stuff going on here. The sequin shadows are just a buzz for me at this time. I will keep playing with them, but frankly, I think they're a little bit boring. And the glitter is way too loose. and fallout prone, and they're just not that exciting. Especially, you can't really see them. You can't see them on camera. You can't see them far away. So like if somebody's right up in here in your face, they're like, oh, you have a little glitter. And then they're like, oh, you have a glitter on your forehead. Yeah, so I'm not a fan. I'm going to keep playing with them. I actually tried them again today. I don't know if you can see all the way back there, but we'll move my head just in case. I tried them again today. Once again, just not super impressed. We'll get back to this eye look, by the way. I have comments about this. I am really enjoying the mattes. I can't think of any exact comparisons to them, but so far they're definitely on par with my top brands. I just find them very different to work with. I don't think that they blend seamlessly into each other like some of my favorites do. But the payoff that I get is that I can create looks that are a little more precise and editorial. So like, I don't know if you can see this eye look. I should probably photograph it or something and maybe talk about it a little bit deeper. But there are definitely some harsh edges in this eye look, and I was trying to blend them out at certain times and they just wouldn't blend. But then I was able to use those harsh edges to my advantage and kind of do something a little bit more creative. I love that there isn't a lot of fallout and mess in my palette. With the matte shadows and the super pigmentation. Well, okay, I kind of take that back. There is a huge glitter mess after having used this already. Let's see if we can get any glitter reflect. This really puts into perspective for me why Viseart separates their formulations for the artist palettes. I want to jump now into the comparisons with the other brands, because ultimately when I buy a palette, I want it to be either on par or better than the stuff that I have and that I love. I picked some of my favorite shadows, and I need a side note right here, because people who watch my channel regularly, they're going to be like, you have Natasha Denona in your favorites. You don't favorite Natasha Denona. I don't favorite Natasha Denona. I think that some of her formulations are really great, and I think some of them absolutely suck. It's a price versus quality consistency thing. I don't feel like I can depend on the brand. So it's like a bet that I don't really want to make. That being said, I do have these two Natasha Denona palettes here that this one I actually really love, and I think the quality is amazing. And this one I don't really think it's amazing. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought some shades were better than others, but I couldn't give it away because it's already drying out. So I don't know if you can tell, but like it's like pulling away from the edges a little, and just, yeah, we're getting like weirdness in this palette already. And it's not that old. It's kind of old though. What's the expiration on these bad boys? 12 months. So we're definitely past that. Alright, so I didn't have exact dupes, but I tried to get pretty close, as close as I could with these looks that are coming up. My eyebrows are getting microbladed this weekend, so please excuse their need to tweeze. I have done way too many looks, and I am over mascara and liner for the time being. So these looks are definitely not finished. They just are what they are. I just wanted to show you like lid swatching, brush movement dupes. Well, not even dupes, similars, comparables. Next up, this is Viseart on the left and Tati on the right. Viseart is always one of my faves. They're incredibly predictable and consistent shadows that sit well on the eye. I did the tape method while doing these looks because I thought it would keep things more consistent. So I wasn't adding in trying to get the angles even into the mix to make things like more confusing. Next up we have ABH on the right and Tati on the left. First off, I don't like this look and I would not wear it. Second, I had to mix Aura and Poet Metallic to get the pink shade on the lid. And third, there is a drag on the ABH side. I would have kept blending, but it was looking worse and worse and worse, and I'm all windshield wiper motion out. This was the last look that I did in a long string of looks, and I was really over it. This is something that happens to me from time to time with ABH shadows, and it did happen with Tati shadows as well. I think that it's from getting like too much pigment on the brush and applying too much pressure. because the shadows do have creamy ingredients like silicones in them that can warm to the skin and stick. Also, because I have hooded eyes that touch together and move when I'm working on them, I have to be extra careful to avoid that in these types of shadows. So I think I'm at a point where I can answer one of the questions that I posed in the beginning, and that is, are these better or at least on par with my favorite shadows that I own? And I'm going to say yes. I think that there were moments with these shadows that Tati's formula performed better, and I think that there were more moments where the shadows performed worse. Overall, the looks came out really similar. I was able to do really similar things. I feel like Tati's palette leans a little bit more, wants me to do more like bold editorial type looks, whereas, you know, my Viseart shadows want me to do something a little bit softer. But honestly, I think that if had the colors matched better, I don't think that anyone would have noticed. I don't think most people would have noticed that I had two different shadows on, or formulations on the lid. I want to share more looks that I created with the Tati palette towards the end of the video, but I think I'm ready to answer the question, is this unique to my collection? Is it unique? Yes and no. The glitters are definitely unique. It seems like I can actually use them, and that is a first for me. First. The metallics aren't necessarily unique for me. There are two shades that stand out to me as being unique, and that is Story and Poet. And I really, really like those, and I see myself like reaching for this palette for those shades, like, because I don't think I have anything else like it, and I like those. I have similars, but not quite as beautiful as those, I think. The sequins rose I've mentioned, I really don't care for. Poet is the only one in the sequins row, the pink with the blue glitter, that I've kind of felt a little bit of a connection with. And that'll probably be the one I try to use first and get. Also, you know, the black one, Memory, looked really cool in like a look. I might actually add it to this look that I have on now, but it looked really cool, kind of added, like do the look first and then kind of pat that into the dark. That looks kind of cool. The matte formula, I think the mattes are unique in formula, definitely not color. I think you can see by the looks that I created. I got all the oranges, I got all the blacks, I got all the browns. Even Poet I have dupes for in color. The formula though inspires me to work a little bit differently, just because I don't think it lends itself to like, it depends how you work with it. There are times when it does just like blend, and it's just great. But then when you start adding more in, I think it starts to, I don't know, I can't necessarily put my finger on what I'm trying to say here, but it does something that starts to lend itself towards wanting to be more editorial and bold. And it inspires me, you know, I'm thinking differently working with these shadows. I've never done a look like this. Not that this is necessarily the best look ever, but I never would have done something, you know, this loud. Also, I can't tell how, like, this looks really loud in person. This may not look that loud on camera, but it's super loud. I'm like, girl. Who do I think should buy this palette? If you're not a glitter fan and you don't really like the way it looks on the eye, I would definitely pass on this palette. It's half the palette. If you like glitters, but you've never really been successful and able to wear a formulation of them yet, it's a maybe. You know, it would be a risk to take, but I was successful and I've never had success before. So that's a plus. If you are into super natural looking makeup, I would pass. Every time I've reached for this palette and said, I'm gonna do super natural look, it has gotten bold very, very quickly. And I think it's just the nature of these shadows. They lean a little more bold. Neutral is not natural in this palette. These are bold neutrals, and I just think that they're meant to be loud. I think the looks that you can do that are super soft and easy to wear and pretty for every day, I think there's like probably like two in this whole palette. Maybe like two. And they're both going to be like, what color brown is that? They're both going to be like Soothe and Ritual. Yeah. And that's it. The rest of this is loud, man. It's loud. The one thing that I would personally change about this palette, I would get rid of that sequins row, Sorry, Tati. It's funny to me, I watched her video and she loves that row. Like, she loves the sequins row, and I feel it. When she talked about it, I felt her love for them, and I'm like, why? Why don't I feel this love that she feels? I personally would replace that row, though, with more transitions and crease shades. I think the matte shadows are cool, but they are so friggin' pigmented. It makes them more difficult to blend without getting harsh edges or having to add more pigment. So yeah, like it's like you're blending, and then you're out of control. You're like, whoa, what happened? This got way loud. So if she had like a softer version of each of the matte shades, it would also give it that versatility to where you could have everyday looks, like a lot of everyday looks, but you could also have more transition. I need some more transition in this palette. One thing I want to mention is that I didn't reach, a lot of times when I'm looking at palettes, one of the things I use when I'm using them on my own, a lot of times I mix. I like to mix in other palettes. I didn't want to do that with this palette because I think that, you know, when you're reviewing a palette, you kind of have to look at it as a whole and then maybe mix some stuff in. So I was trying to look at this as a whole because, yeah, that's just the approach I took. Another idea, instead of doing the lighter transition shade, would be do more of a, like, I don't want to show my ears. Would be more of a like satin shade that you could wear in the crease. I talk about this in one of the looks that I'm going to show, but I really love, Makeup Forever taught me that you can wear shimmers and satins in the crease, and I love it. I am a fan. I think it comes up with some really great looks. It also gives, you know, it's a lighter, easier thing. It's easy sometimes to use satins as blenders. It's a really, really good trick if you're having a troubling shade. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about, and then I'm going to get on to the looks that I created. I heard a rumor. This is a rumor. Don't go spreading it around. It provoked a question in me and that I thought was interesting, so I'm going to share the rumor. And that was, I have no idea where this came from either. I don't know. It may actually not even be a rumor. But I heard that Tati was going to release a new palette in like 3 months or so. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, if she releases a palette in 3 to 6 months, am I going to buy this palette? And although I'm really enjoying this palette, I don't regret my purchase one bit. The answer would be no. I wouldn't buy another palette formulated exactly like this one. Let me tell you why. One, I can never use all of these glitters. So unless these glitters dry out super, super, super fast, I don't need any more glitters for a while. Two, I don't like the sequins. Half the palette. That's half the palette. Glitters, sequins, half the palette. I wouldn't buy another one in the near immediate future. Although I'm enjoying the satins or mattes, I don't really see her being able to come out with colors I don't have that I would be that super drawn to. And the formula's cool. Like I said, the satins isn't that unique, and the mattes are kind of fun, but, you know, I'm a little wishy, I don't know. Fun, but not mind-blowing. So I just don't feel like this is a formulation that I need in every single color she ever releases. So for me, honestly, most likely, maybe for sure, I'm so wishy-washy sometimes. I'm just trying to give you guys the information, but if she released something exactly like this with the exact formulations, exact color scheme idea, I would probably pass. It would be hard though, especially if it were purples. I've heard Tati likes purple. All right, lastly, we're gonna get into the looks. Some of these looks are better than others. I forgot to talk about the look I'm wearing today. Yeah, maybe I'll pop it up at the end and voice over it because I forgot already what I'm doing. First look is a smoky eye progression. I'm going to call this a progression because you'll see. This is Memory Matte, and it's blended out with Soothe Matte. Then we have Soothe Metallic on the inner corner and Aura Metallic on the center of the lid. There is a little patchy spot on the lid, but I think I'm pretty sure it's just the shape of my eye, kind of creating a little bit of a shadow there. I always have to get my angle like absolutely perfect in photographs, or I have that sort of like bald looking spot, and I think it's just from the reflection of the, you know, the sequin or the shimmer. The second photo is an attempt to add memory sequin in the outer V. It made the black blacker, but you cannot see the glitters on camera. You can see them in person though. The last progression was to add aura glitter on the inner 2/3 mobile lid and memory glitter on the outer 1/3. This is Poet Matte in the outer V, blending out with Soothe Matte up into the crease and on the lid, and then Aura blending inner 1/3 of the mobile lid into the crease. The progression on this look was to add Poet Metallic onto the lid. And then of course we're going to Poet Glitter on top of that. This was my attempt at an everyday look. This is Ritual Metallic in the crease. This shadow actually worked really well in the crease, this metallic, and didn't give me a lot of fallout. I did try Poet Metallic. It was in that very first look that I shared that I did on camera. And I had so much fallout from that, it was a little crazy. I deepened up the outer corner with Ritual Matte and used the Soothe Sequin shade on the lid. You can actually see a little bit of the glitter in this picture. The first progression is Story Metallic on the lid. And then of course, Story Glitter. Please keep in mind that because I'm layering colors, it could have slightly altered the shades of the metallics. Alright guys, that is a wrap. I have shared with you more than you wanted to know. I am certain, because I am that type of person. Let me know if you do happen to have any other questions that haven't already been answered down below. Also, I want to know, if you bought this palette, how do you feel about it? Especially if you bought this palette and you're more of a like natural look person. I'm curious. Do you think you're actually going to use this palette, or is it just going to sit in the drawer? You're going to pull it out on New Year's and Halloween. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And the notifications. Ding, 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 ding. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.